Hi, everybody. Oh, hold on one second. Okay. Why don't we get started? Thank you for coming in. This is our last advising session, so appreciate your coming in and getting things settled. I'll try and keep things as short as possible. Previous advising sessions have gone about 40 minutes. Hopefully we can keep it a little shorter than that, but we'll see. And we do have, it looks like we have one person on Google Chat. I think at least one person is coming in from overseas. So hopefully we'll figure out how to get that, whoever that is there, to say their name. Okay, so let's start by going around and just, if you could introduce yourselves to me and to each other, just tell us who you are, what your track is, and kind of how far along you are in the program.
Okay, Anita Andrews, MALS, and Urban Studies, and this is my first semester.
Okay.
First year, my bad.
First year. Okay, so you came in the fall?
Fall, yeah.
Okay.
I'm Nate Anderson. I'm in the American Studies track of MALS. It's the end of my second year.
Okay.
My name is Brendan Goldburn. I'm in the African Studies track now, and my second semester.
Okay, wait. Brandon
Goldburn.
Goldburn. I'm sorry, and your name?
Alicia Beth Rodriguez.
Okay, and I'm sorry, your name?
Nate Anderson.
Nate Anderson. Okay, great. Alicia, you want to just tell us your name, your track, how far along you are in the program?
Sure. My name is Alicia Rodriguez. I'm actually in the MALS program. I'm going for psychology work and families.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my second semester.
Okay, great.
I'm Christopher Vinales. MALS track, I guess we all right. But the track is Latin American Caribbean Studies.
Okay.
And it's my second semester.
Okay.
My name is Sergeant Donovan Smith. I'm in Africana Studies. It's my third semester, and I don't know how many credits I have. I've taken different classes every semester. I think I've taken 6 classes now.
Okay.
My name is Laurel Humble in the Urban Education track, and I have done everything but my thesis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's great. Down to at the same time.
Great.
Hi, I'm Nicole Pierre, and I'm in the Psychology Work and Family track, and I started in the fall, so this is like my first year.
Okay, great. And if you are there watching online, please type your names into the group chat if you can. And if you're unable to find the group chat, send me an email right now, please, and I'll follow up after. Okay, so let me start by just sort of explaining what this is, why you're here, and why we're doing this, why we're sort of asking you to come in. Basically, the MALS program in general is very flexible, and I think has very little in the way of requirements, right? So most of the program is under your control. The advising is also, I would characterize it for better or worse, is kind of hands-off. And, to the extent you want to kind of ask for advising, we'll give it to you. But a lot of it is sort of when you feel like you need help, you reach out. So we really do this kind of group advising once a year for all continuing students to make sure that we at least just kind of see you once a year, that you see each other, and that we can tell you about new developments in the program. So I'm going to go over just some aspects of the program, some things that have changed, and then sort of answer any questions you have along the way. So this is especially important for those of you who are new here, but just so that everybody kind of still knows and understands, right, the Grad Center is at the center of a large 24 campus system. Your faculty members come, very few of them probably teach only here. Most of them teach here and at a campus, right? And I think that basic fact affects a lot of what happens here. It's part of the vitality of the center is that it draws on faculty from such a large system, but it also means that you'll come here and doors will be closed, people won't be here, and I think it poses challenges to our community. So I always like to emphasize that, even though I know you all kind of know that, but it's just sort of part of how the CUNY system works. All of you probably should have had this switch in your Graduate Center email going from the GC email to the Grad Center Microsoft hosted thing. I hope it's gone okay. It was mandated basically by CUNY Central. It was not a choice that was that the Grad Center could or could not opt into. But it's important that you check in on that email. It's where lots of important announcements go. And likewise, I hope that you're on the listserv and that's how you heard about this. Because we do send out all of our kind of required information out to the listserv. The program it's a 30 credit degree program, right? Most courses here are 3 credits, which means it's basically 10 courses. Now some courses are 4 credits, so there will be some of you who will take a sort of odd number of courses, but for now, let's just say that there are 10 courses generally that people take. 4 of them are the requirements are structured, and 6 are completely free electives. The 4 requirements are the intro course, right, which you take if you didn't come in with a master's degree. Then the 2 core courses in your chosen area, and I'll say more about that in a moment. And then the final thesis course, thesis advisement course, which it's important to differentiate from the thesis workshop, which is a kind of separate optional opt-in workshop. So the intro class, has everyone taken it here who needs to take it? Okay, so hopefully you took that. Hopefully it was a class that was of interest to you. We try to offer lots of different sections. We hope that you will have taken that and your 2 core courses by the time you're finished with your first year. We realize that's not always possible, sometimes for your reasons, sometimes for ours. If you are in a track, for instance, where the core course was not offered, there's not much you can do to satisfy that requirement. So it really, what I basically say is that, and let me just sort of explain the larger context here, which is that MALS, maybe even 4 or 5 years ago, had 11 tracks. Now we're up to 21 tracks. And it used to just offer the same courses every semester. Now, as the program has grown, we are sort of still kind of trying to accommodate that growth. And basically, what I'm trying to do is to have a system, we're given a sort of certain number of course units, number of courses that we can offer. And I'm trying to accommodate tracks where there are the largest number of students. So it may be that there are also some tracks that are kind of problematic in different ways. For instance, science and technology, its second core courses, the way it was written is very specific and such that only like a single faculty member can teach it. So we're trying to kind of change the structure of that course. And in the meantime, it's been hard to find someone to teach that class because it was written so specifically. So generally, we ask you to kind of bear with us. If, as you move on through the program, and let's say you've got 1 or 2 courses left, and you come to us and you say, look, I haven't taken the core courses in my track because only one was offered during my time here, we'll generally allow you to substitute a core course from another track for the one in your track. If it hasn't been offered. If it has been offered and it's sort of on you and you just sort of didn't take it when it was offered, then we'll ask you to wait and take that class. So I think we're offering core courses in most tracks for next semester. I'm still trying to arrange a couple. I can't remember whether we've cross-listed Africana Studies, but I think we have Law and Society. I'm still trying to arrange a course. Still trying to arrange another Women's Studies course section. But if you are at the point where you need to take a core course and one is not being offered, you can always talk to us, and we'll sort of be glad to work with you on the requirements. Of course, yes.
So last semester, I think actually in an email exchange with you, you gave me an exception because the class was during the day. My only question though is that at some point before I finish the degree, should I have an email confirmation with you to say, okay, I want to be sure that I can take the requirement?
Yes, I think that's a good idea. If there's anything where it's like you are seeking an exception, it's good to just have an email exchange just so that we'll get that out in writing. And I would all, yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to register yet, so I just wanted to know, so Psychology of Work and Family 2 being offered next semester?
Not yet. That's another one of the courses I'm trying to arrange. Again, the other thing that's happened sometimes with some of these tracks, we've had faculty members who sort of propose the tracks and then suddenly are unable to teach them for one reason or another. So we're trying to scramble to find people to teach. So that one I'm not sure. I don't think it's on the schedule yet. Is that correct?
Not sure.
Yeah, I don't think so. I know we're offering the second or one of the two in the spring, but I'm not sure about the fall. Okay. So anyway, most of the tracks do not have a kind of sequence of courses. Some do. Digital Humanities is one where you have to take the first one before you take the second one, but most do not have a sequence of courses. Just want to make sure everyone knows you don't only have to take courses in the MALS program, right? I mean, you can if you would like to, but one of the attractions of this building is that you can take courses across a range of master's and doctoral programs. Not all programs have their courses open to our students. Many do. And if there's a course that you absolutely want to take and it's closed to MALS students, you can always email a faculty member or an assistant program officer of a program and request an exemption. But just be aware that the faculty member really they're allowed to sort of place restrictions on their courses, and so it may just be that they've chosen, for whatever reason, sometimes they say, okay, it's only students from our program, sometimes it's only doctoral students, whatever. Sometimes they do that. So, yeah.
Can I add something? So that's happened to me before, but I also find that polite and sort of direct and respectful emails to professors explaining what you're interested in and what your past coursework is works very well. And there was one class where the professor was absolutely said, you can't come into my class, even though she had not responded to my prior emails. And I wrote an apology and said, if you change your mind, let me know. And then she ended up finding a space. So I would recommend following up, just not in a way that is demanding of the space. And actually, I found other professors as well to be really flexible for good classes.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that story.
So I think it's like being assertive in a way that they feel like they can say no. And then
yeah. No, I think that's a lot of it. I think it's sort of like the CUNY experience, right? It's like you have to be a little pushy, but you don't want to turn people off and kind of, make them feel like you're sort of like being too demanding. But you make your case, and often it will work out. Has anyone else had? I mean, because the other question is sort of getting into classes that are already full and trying to get onto a wait list. Have others have you had an experience of sort of trying to get onto a class?
I've had a couple classes that have been full and then
okay.
I know they're both within MALS.
Okay, great. Yeah, usually professors will be accommodating. I mean, I have heard stories of professors just not responding sometimes. That does happen as well. But even so, it's worth sometimes showing up and just kind of going. Just so everybody knows, there are no summer courses here and no online courses either. unfortunately, or very few. There might be one or two, but very few. And also, your coursework will be here at the Graduate Center. There are a couple of exceptions where we've worked out specific arrangements with another school, like in the sustainability track, the second core course takes place out at Brooklyn College, but that's because we've kind of worked something out with Brooklyn. The GC isn't part of the larger e-permit system, so unfortunately, all that means that all of your coursework will be here. In terms of course load, I'm assuming you guys all know at this point what you're sort of capable of in terms of time commitments. I really try and dissuade people from taking any more than 2 courses. I think 3 and up is a lot. I mean, some students can do 3. I mean, but then others trying to do 4. So I've even heard of 5, and it's way too much, especially if you're working. So just all I suggest is that you be honest with yourself about your commitments and your time, and sort of take the number of classes you can really take on. In terms of advising, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Matt Gold, the EO. Elizabeth McCauley-Lewis is our Deputy Executive Officer. We do these advising sessions, and we generally also meet individually with students to talk about just general program issues. But I'm not a sociologist, for instance. I can't give you in-depth advisement on the field of sociology. So the idea is that you really start to get advisement in your field, in your track, by the people who are teaching it in the classes you're taking. If you're having trouble finding people to advise you, come talk to us and we can help send you out to people. So that's important to know and to sort of be in touch with us. Okay, any questions before I move on? Okay, let me just let me try and type something here.
Actually,
yeah.
Just to be clear, there are winter sessions that are offered.
There are no winter session classes. Okay. Just one quick thing for people who are watching on the Hangout, if you could try and open the group chat and type your names, that would be great. Thank you. The 2 things I want to say about, or one thing I want to say about tracks, we have 2 new tracks that are coming online next fall. One is a track in data visualization that has some shared curriculum with the digital humanities track. And the other new track is called social and environmental justice studies. That track it's like, the idea is that like Hurricane Sandy is not just like the way it affects New York City. It's not just a kind of natural, quote unquote, natural disaster, but instead is kind of tied up with lots of economic, ecological decisions that have been made in the city, and political issues. So it's sort of a study of the holistic view of that kind of, or taking that kind of, quote unquote, natural disaster as a social justice issue. So it's interdisciplinary, and I think it'll be a great new track. Childhood studies came on this year, and it's going pretty strong. Okay, in terms of the thesis, this is where we have some other big news. This year we passed through Grad Council, which is the GC's curriculum governance system, a new possibility. Instead of just, traditionally you write a 50 to 60 page academic thesis. And if you plan to go to graduate school, that's probably the best thing to do, right? To have that kind of long form project in your applications, and to have an advisor who could speak to your involvement in that kind of work. However, what we've passed through in our governance is something that we're calling a capstone project, which opens up a wide range of alternatives to a written thesis. They include a performance, a digital project, a museum exhibit and catalog. So we're pretty open to ideas. And I think what we're going to be doing for the digital projects, which we've already been doing for a little while with the digital humanities track, is that students create a digital project and then write a sort of shorter like white paper that talks about the process of creating that project and maybe puts it in the context of their classes here. So if you were to say do a performance of some, let's say you did a dance performance of some kind, we would probably ask for some kind of documentation of the performance, and then also maybe like a short, 15 to 20 page white paper or something like that. But we're kind of in new ground here. We don't really know what students are going to propose. I was speaking to a student the other day who's a tour guide in New York City, and he was thinking about doing some kind of like tour guide oriented thing, like, I don't know, creating a tour of New York and doing some written component. So we're really kind of open to your ideas. And again, if you're planning on applying for doctoral programs, that's probably not the way to go, because doctoral programs tend to be more traditional. But if this is something, this possibility is these more creative possibilities. If that's something that appeals to you, we urge you to kind of come in and start talking to us early. But just so you know, either the thesis or the capstone project, the advisor can be anyone on the GC faculty. Okay, so the person has to have an affiliation with the graduate center. Doesn't necessarily need to be part of the MALS program. And I would say, you should start, I advise students to really start thinking of the thesis right at the beginning. And, when you are writing papers, and if your faculty members are responding well to them, you can start thinking of them as potential thesis advisors. You want to look for people who you respond to, who you have a bond with, who sort of share some field of interest with you. And importantly, I think with whom you work well, right? You don't want to, if the working styles don't match, it's just not probably going to be a good fit. So I think that's very important to think about that. When you found your advisor, you tell Kathy Koutsis who it is. And I should say that many advisors, or some advisors, might not know what it means to advise a MALS thesis, again, because in this building, a lot of the programs are doctoral programs, and it's really only recently that the MALS program has grown. So you might want to say to the faculty member, look, here's what the thesis is, but if you have any questions, the EO said you should email him. Here's his email address. And what we have is a advisement guide that we send out to faculty that sort of explain what it is and how it works. But when you found your advisor, you'll tell Kathy. She'll give you a very special, an individual course number to register for. And that's your thesis course. It's a 3-credit course. It's not like your other courses in that you don't sort of have regular meetings. That process is something you set up with your advisor. Some advisors may just say, show it to me when you've got a draft. Some may say, let's set up 5 meetings over the course of the semester. It really depends on the person who's doing it. And so that's the thesis advisement course. That's required. We are offering this fall a thesis workshop. It's a 1-credit course. It's not required, but it's a good thing to do. I would say if you should consider it even if you're not at the thesis stage, but if you're sort of approaching the thesis stage. But definitely if you're writing your thesis, if you're having a hard time with it, it's going to be taught by Mark Macbeth, who teaches writing at John Jay. He's really good at sort of helping students think through the research process. And it's going to be like a writing workshop where students are sharing work. And, it's like, in some ways, like a kind of writing group in some ways. But it's a 1-credit course. It's totally optional. You don't have to take it if you're writing your thesis. Okay. One thing to keep in mind is that the program has a deadline. It has deadlines for the submission of the thesis to the program that are in advance of the degree deadline. So here at the Grad Center, there's a May degree, there's an October degree, and a February degree. And if you go to our website and go, I think, current students thesis, you'll see a list of our program deadlines. They're usually about a month before the deadline in the library. So just to give you an example, there's a May 1 deadline in the library for a May degree. We ask students for the thesis to be submitted to the program with the thesis advisor's approval by April 10th or April 15th. What that means in practice, if you sort of think it through, is that if, let's say, you're writing your thesis in spring 2016, courses don't start until what, January 27th, 28th. So really, you've just got like February and March to write your thesis, and then if you want to give your advisor, ideally a couple of weeks to read through it and approve. Not to mention the revision process. You don't have much time, right? So it's almost better to get that faculty member's approval to become the advisor, and you take the course in the spring, but maybe you start writing earlier. So just plan that into your writing process. Think about those deadlines as you move through. There's nothing we could do. We could extend our deadlines, and we routinely do, to say, okay, well, you're not ready on April 10th, we'll give you until April 20th or something. But we really can't extend the library's deadlines, and they're very strict. So just so you know, you need to get your thesis advisor's approval, then you need to get the EO's approval and MALS, and then you're formatting and you submit to the library. The library has very specific formatting rules. There's a signature page that needs to be printed on a certain weight of paper, and so it's a little convoluted. So give yourself some time to kind of work through all of that. Any questions about thesis or capstone advisement or the process?
So if you register for instance, I'm going to register in the fall for my thesis course. I am expected to also submit my thesis.
Well, that's a good question. So I feel very strongly that the thesis and capstone should be one semester projects. And by that I mean, it should be scoped out to be one semester project. So don't, for your thesis, don't write the history of Western philosophy from, Plato to Foucault or something, because it's too much. So, but in practice, students routinely take a little more than a semester. So what happens if you take the class in the fall and you haven't finished by the end of the semester, you'll just get an incomplete or no grade in that course. And then once you do finish, the grade will be changed to a pass. It's like a pass-fail class. So, and the other thing is that you could really submit at any time. So let's say that you were taking the class in the spring and you didn't finish by that April 15th deadline, but you finished on like June 1st, you could submit then, and you just get an October degree. Also, if you took the thesis class in the spring, you didn't finish, you could wind up taking until like the next deadline, which is what, September 10th or something. And if that happens, you don't need to be registered that next fall. You just have to have been registered the previous spring. But usually you'll need to have been registered during whatever semester you are finishing, which may mean that you're taking the course or may mean that you're registering for what's it called, maintenance of matriculation. And just so everyone knows, there's being registered while you're taking courses. And then if you're not taking courses, there's either a leave of absence, which means you sort of leave the program and can come back, or there's something called maintenance of matriculation, where you pay a small fee and you're not taking courses, but you're not on leave. If you don't do either of those and you're not taking courses, you're officially dropped from the program. You can apply for readmittance. It's a very easy thing to do. And as long as your records are in good standing, there's really no problem, but it's much better to sort of either take a leave or be on maintenance of matriculation. Any other questions about that? Okay.
I have a question. So if
Yeah.
you're not going to be registered in the fall, you're saying that you can either take a leave or just pay a matriculation fee?
Yes.
How much is the matriculation fee?
I don't know offhand. I'm sorry. I think it's maybe a couple $100, but I'm not certain. But if you ask Kathy, she'll know definitely. And it's probably on the website as well. Okay. All right, let me just see one thing here. Okay. Okay. I'm also not seeing anything on the group chat, so if you're listening from afar, please please enter your name in the chat, which is the blue speech bubble on the left-hand side. Okay, so that's mostly it. You know, there's other stuff that I just want to say a couple more things about community here. You know, as I mentioned, it's I think it's the nature of the GC and its faculty that people are sort of coming and going. We've been trying very hard to build community in the program. We have a MALS Student Association. You pay fees to be part of the program. And MALS, really the MALS Student Association is the representative body of MALS, of its students. So I urge you to get involved in that. They're really, it's the kind of thing you may sort of think, well, I'll leave it for someone else to, you know, run for representative or something. But really, the problem is that sometimes people don't run, and then there's no one really representing MALS students. And you know, if there are things like you want to advocate for, things you think should be changed, that's really the representative body in place to do it. Like if you think, you know, we should be offering summer courses, like that's the group that should be doing that, advocating. We have MALS students who sit on the executive committee, and you know, I just want to encourage all of you to kind of get involved in that. Also, you should know about Jenny Furlong and her Office of Career Services. I hope that you all know about it. You should be getting email mailings about events that they're doing, and they can be a real resource for you as you're kind of getting ready to graduate and thinking about your resume.
Are they open for the summer?
Yes, they should be. Yeah. And we do, for those of you applying to doctoral programs, we do events in the spring and the fall. So you know, stay tuned for those events. Library, just one quick thing, which is that, you know, the library is open all summer, but also as a CUNY student, you can use any CUNY library. You know, so if you're near another campus, you should be able to go in and show your ID and get books out of there and study there. There's also what's called a Marley card, which should allow you to get, it's through the New York Public Library, and should allow you to get access to the Columbia and NYU libraries. You can also try and take out books from there, but from what I've heard, they'll steer you first to the NYPL collections. There's also the CUNY Academic Commons, which is a sort of network for the CUNY system, and maybe a good place to find others who share your interests. Any questions beyond that?
The registration deadline is June 6th.
That sounds right. Yeah, I know we set up this session to come in advance of that. I don't know the exact deadline. I would check the academic calendar. And I think it might have been in the message announcing this, but yeah. Is June 6th not right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
If I'm registering for a particular thesis advisor, though, I'll probably do my course number later.
Do you know who your advisor is?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm not even going to
Then I would contact Kathy and
Okay.
tell her the situation. And what we usually do is have you register under like a kind of dummy course number, and then we'll switch it to whoever your advisor is later on.
We're getting our pin today.
Yes. So what you're getting today is the PIN that will allow you to register. It's to log into the site, you need your GC credentials, basically, through the student web. But then this is the program PIN that will allow you to get it. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to ask you to come up one by one, and I'll give you your pins. And those of you online, please hang out for a bit, and I'll give you your pins in 1 second. Okay, so if you could come up and just tell me your last name. Okay, Anita, you are 913665.
Here.
You are 654 528. Laurel? Okay. 850-314.
Are we all set then?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Peterson. Hey.
Nathaniel Anderson?
Yeah.
Okay. 907 369.
Rodriguez.
Okay. 771 992. Can I ask you? Yeah, you're good.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, no,
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I'm impatient.
Okay. 169 869.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Last name is Vinales with a B. V-I-N.
All right, Christopher.
Yes.
All right, 314. I'm sorry. 341 002.
002. 341-002.
That's right. Perfect. Sorry.
Hey, Brandon Goldberg.
Okay. For the G.
Yeah, GOBOURNE.
Okay. 149 720.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And do you think after the first year I should start looking for an advisor now? Or am I
I
still
think it's
formulating?
two. How many classes have you taken?
Just 3.
I think it's early, but keep your eye out for people who are in your field and
Right.
who would be of interest to you.
Because I'm still formulating ideas for it. That's why you start talking about advisors. I'm like,
Yeah, no, just keep it in mind as you move forward.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know, like, registering in the fall if I'm going to or not.
Okay.
So I've taken 4 courses,
Mm-hmm.
done really well. I've gotten some recommendations, and especially they give me recommendations for application, the
Yeah.
doctoral program. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I'm going to go ahead and apply.
Okay.
So I'm thinking of maybe just doing a maintenance matriculation. So I'll probably still keep coming here and using resources, but I don't know if I'll actually be registering.
Okay.
I should probably register for a class for the fall anyway, so I don't get locked out.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I would maybe talk to Kathy about this, but
Yeah, me too.
I don't think you have to pay when you just register for a class, right? It's just after the ad drop. So, I mean, it can't hurt to register in that way, even just to save a spot in a class you're interested in, so that if you decide to go, you can.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you could do maintenance and matriculation.
Yeah, so that's probably what I'm thinking about.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know if I'm going to actually complete the MALS degree,
Okay.
and I'm probably not.
Okay.
But because I was told I could apply to doctoral programs without the
Mhm.
MALS degree,
Sure.
but I don't know if I'm going to apply to the doctoral program.
Right.
So, I mean, going for advisement. I have my professors, obviously. I mean, in terms of talking to people about applying, or looking for clinical psych
Mm-hmm.
or clinical and forensic psych.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, my classes have gone well. I've gotten A's in all of them and all that, but it's just that between work and school, I'm like so exhausted.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't even know if I can like even come back in the fall and do another course, but I'll probably take like maybe one.
Yeah, that sounds good. Or maintenance and matriculation, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I haven't taken the GRE yet, so I'm thinking maybe I'm too late to apply for this year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do want to. Let me just see if I can get them
sure.
their pins, and then maybe I could talk to you a little more, or you can.
Oh, I'll wait.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So, sorry. If you are here on this broadcast, can you try on the left side of your screen? You should see a chat button that is blue. It looks like a couple of speech bubbles, and you should be able to chat. Okay. I see. Okay, so a couple of you are Jen Cruz and Mariana Lopez de Castilla wrote to me and said that you do not see where to find the chat bubble. So I will email your pins to you, okay? I'm going to end the broadcast and I'll be in touch by email, okay? Bye-bye.